Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm in a new spot in my room. This spot previously did not exist before, but basically I had to do some reorganization in my room because I needed to buy a new bookcase. The unfortunate reality was that I did not have room for any more books, and then I kept buying books, and then I kept stacking them in places that were inconvenient, and then I realized that the problem was becoming acute, and so then I went out and bought a new bookshelf. I went to like a local antique store where I bought my last bookshelf and came back with another bookshelf that I'm also super happy with. So let me know if you want a room tour, by the way. I could do that. I could do a room tour. Let me know if that would be interesting. I don't know if that would be interesting, but anyway, yeah, that furniture place, they're unbelievably strange. Like it's mountains and mountains and mountains and mountains of furniture that you basically have to like wade through. You're like swimming through like, you know, tables and chairs and stuff from like the Victorian era or whatever. And then eventually you come across like absolute heat. So I've gotten a couple of pieces there that I really, really enjoy, particularly of the bookshelf variety. And so then I got a couple of other, I got like one other thing as well, which fit in my room perfectly. So anyway, I've reorganized my room, and that means that I now have this like really nice and cozy reading nook that I've carved out for myself, which I didn't have before, which I'm super happy about. This new corner here is great. I moved the chair over here because it's not convenient to have a chair here all the time. But especially when the light is when the sun has set and the room is dark, this lamp. Oh my goodness. What a cool spot. Anyway, I went on a book haul. That shouldn't be a surprise, but I went on a book haul and I wanted to show off the spoils. Because I got some really cool stuff. In fact, I got something that I am convinced is one of my coolest finds at my local half-price books. I'm so happy with it. I had no idea that this particular thing existed. And then when I saw it, I was like, what is that? And I investigated, and I was like, yeah, that's going to come home with me for sure. So let's just jump into it. First is this biography of Erasmus that I just got. I'm a big Erasmus fan. Let me know if you actually want to see my Erasmus collection. I'm pretty proud of it because Erasmus is hard to get in English, and so you really have to just like be patient and scour used bookstores and like, you know, shop for books continuously, and then eventually something like this will pop up, an old biography of Erasmus from the 20s. So that's cool. I'm happy to have this, and I was dipping into it last night, and I was liking what I was reading. So that's pretty awesome. And then I also raided the clearance section of my local half-price books, and I got two things that I never would normally get, but they were dirt cheap, and so I was like, why not? We'll give it a shot. I don't think anybody else, I don't think they're, particularly the one, I don't think is at any risk of anyone else buying, so I don't feel like I'm taking it away from anyone. This is Figures of Autobiography, The Language of Self-Writing by Avram Fleischman, who was probably some professor at the University of California. Oh no, Avram Fleischman is professor of English at Johns Hopkins University. So that's pretty cool. But it was put out by University of California Press. And it's a book, apparently it's a piece of literary criticism about autobiography. But Edmund Goss was mentioned, and if you've been following me on this channel, you know that I like Edmund Goss. So we'll see. I'll dip into it. I don't have any patience for literary criticism when it bores me. Back in the day, I was like a literary criticism fanboy, and so I would be reading these incredibly boring tracts of literary criticism and forcing myself through them. I do not do that anymore. I am not in college, and I have matured in my reading. So if I am bored by a piece of literary criticism, I DNF it very quickly. So I might DNF this if it's boring, but we'll see. Then we've got this. This is The Other Shot in the Dark. This is Ross MacDonald You can see a picture of him on the back there. Kind of cool. He wrote crime novels. He looks like he could be in a crime novel with that hat. But this is Archer in Jeopardy. And it's a collection of 3 of his novels here, put out by Knopf. The Doomsters, the Zebra-Striped Hearse, the Instant Enemy. As you may or may not know, as I've talked about it on this channel before, I've mentioned it like once or twice, I'm not a big crime fiction fan. I've read a couple of pieces of crime fiction. Sometimes, like, the best of crime fiction that I've read has just been okay. I've never really loved it. But maybe this will be the one that changes my mind. I don't know. It's in perfect condition, really. And I like that it's 3 volumes in one, and I might as well just give it a shot. For $4 or $5, whatever. Then we've got, this was a great find. This is A Distant Mirror by Barbara Tuchman. Nice little picture of her on the back there. But yeah, Barbara Tuchman is great. She's a, well-respected, well-read, or widely read, well-read and widely read, I guess, popular history writer. She wrote a very popular history of World War I. She also wrote a book called The March of Folly, which I thought was really good. And this is her book on the 14th century, the calamitous 14th century, as she says here in the subtitle. And I have no doubt that this is going to be good. It's quite long, and this is the edition that I wanted. This is I believe it's a first edition. I don't think it's a first printing at all. Or actually, I checked. It says it's the 11th printing of it, but I believe this is the first edition, like, cover. Anyway, it's a nice big hardcover, which is the one that I wanted. So I was very glad to find this, and it's obviously extremely apropos because this month I am reading books about and written in the Middle Ages, which has already been great. I can't wait to talk more about what I've been reading. Well, you know what I've been reading because I made a TBR video. But I'm so glad the first thing I decided to read on it has been exactly what I was hoping it would be. So I won't be able to fit that book on this month's TBR, but maybe on next month's TBR after I have sifted through these books on the Middle Ages. I want to keep the ball rolling. We'll see. But this is my favorite thing. This is the thing that I got that I thought was the coolest. And it's going to be hard to hold it up here, but I'll give it a shot. I just saw this on the shelf, and I'm like, what is that? It just says Shakespeare. It's a very strange size. And I'm like, what is it? And then I open it up, and this is what I'm confronted with. These tiny little volumes of Shakespeare. Look at these with the gold gilded edges on them. And they have, you can see they've got these bookmarks, the cloth bookmarks. You can see them somewhere. And then it says, The Miniature Shakespeare Library in 12 volumes. So like volume 1 here has Tempest, 2 Gentlemen of Verona, Merry Wives of Windsor, and Measure for Measure. And that's volume 1. And it was put out by Barnes & Noble in 2002, according to the inside flap, which, by the way, they also have these, like, wonderful little end pages on them, too. Onion skin pages, these nice end pages on them. I'll put in some B-roll shots of them, actually, because they're so nice, and they're adorable. They're absolutely adorable. And when I see something this small and cute, I want to carry it around with me all the time. You know what I mean? I want to wear a big coat and put a copy of Shakespeare in my coat. And, well, I don't take the train anymore. I used to take the train all the time when I lived in Boston. Now I live out in the suburbs of Ohio. We don't have trains out here. But it makes me want to get on the Boston T with a copy of The Tempest in my pocket and read it on the train. But that, I thought, was awesome. And, it got me thinking, I don't want to go on a long rant about this, but, I've talked about this on my channel a couple of times, and now I'm getting kind of frustrated because I don't find any information about this online. And I wanted to ask, since I have people who are smarter than me, more well-read than me, and older than me who watch my channel, what happened to Barnes & Noble and their sort of publishing arm? Because now what we get is we get these. We get these, you know, I think we've all seen these before. This is my, I've probably got this in 2009 as a 9-year-old. This is my essential tales and poems of Edgar Allan Poe. We've all seen, this is Barnes & Noble Classics reprint, you know, line, and you know they're reprint classics. And the nice thing about these was that they were cheap. Like this came in at $9.95. They're cheaper than a Penguin. Cheaper than a lot of options, readily available if you shopped at Barnes & Noble. I do have to give them credit, and I do have sentimental value about this. But at the end of the day, it did not hold up. It did not hold up. This thing is falling apart. Meanwhile, I will get books that have the Barnes & Noble stamp on them, books put out, published by Barnes & Noble, that were you know, put out in the 90s, that have held up and basically look brand new today, and they're basically bulletproof. And in fact, I was reading the inside of one of them. This is my copy of, let me grab it here. This is my copy of Edgar Allan Poe, but the one that came out in the 90s. This is their older version of reprinting, and this is the complete Tales of Edgar Allan Poe, not the essential, the complete Tales of Edgar Allan Poe. Yeah, the cover's a little crazy, it's a little kooky, I like it personally, but it even says here, listen to this, it came out in, let's get that information first, it came out in 1992, and then it says here, oh dear. Okay, it says here, printed in a stock made especially for Barnes & Noble in the USA by Lyons Falls Pulp and Paper. It is milled acid-free for archival durability and manufactured without chlorine in a process that avoids the discharge of toxic byproducts into the environment. Now, I really don't know what any of that means. I mean, I know what acid-free paper means, but the chlorine or a paper stock that was made especially for Barnes & Noble, I don't really know what the ramifications of that are, but I do know that this book has held up extremely, extremely well. So whatever they were doing was working. And I'll tell you what, it's held up a lot better than my edition of Edgar Allan Poe that I got in like 2009. This is much older than that, and it looks much better, and it's held up much better, and I'm wondering what happened. What happened? Barnes & Noble used to put out absolute heat, and it doesn't seem like they do that anymore. They confine themselves to reprinting classics, which is like fine, and I think they're going for more affordable versions, which props to anybody who does that. I love that. But they also used to put out like really interesting things, like this is The Black Prince. And again, this was put out in like 1993, bulletproof. Would you have any idea that this came out in 1993? The pages are pearly ivory white, and they haven't yellowed at all, and the spine is in perfect condition. This is The Bad Popes by E.R. Chamberlain, also in perfect condition. That was also put out in the 90s. I have their wonderful, wonderful book, which I don't have on me right now because I loaned it, but their book, Extraordinary Popular Delusions and the Madness of Crowds, which is incredible. There's no other version of that book that I'd rather have than the Barnes & Noble version of it. But imagine Barnes & Noble doing that today. I don't think they do in any capacity, and I'm wondering why, because they were going so incredibly hard and then they stopped. And I'd like to know why, because I have a lot of things to say about Barnes & Noble, but I can't find any information about it online. Because I was looking into this edition of Shakespeare that I have from them, this mini library. I was just trying to find some information on it. What inspired them to do it, or you know, what was the reaction, I guess, when it came out? Anything, and I found literally nothing. So anyway, I don't want to go on a long rant, especially because this is starting to sound like an old man yelling at a cloud. But I'm just wondering, you know, to those of whom are watching this video and are older than me and more well-read than me, and were around in the early 2000s and potentially shopping at Barnes & Noble and potentially eating these books up like I am now, as I find them, you know, passed down and ended up in my local used bookstore. Like, what happened? Why doesn't Barnes and Noble do this anymore? Because not only were they printing really interesting stuff, they were printing really interesting stuff in a really impressive way, a way that was meant to last, and a way that was very high quality. And you can see that very obviously if you do any used book shopping, because you'll see a bunch of yellowing paperbacks, and then you'll see this really nice hardcover, and every time it says Barnes & Noble on it, and it's like, what were they doing why did they stop doing that? Anyway, I had a great book haul. I don't mean to complain. I had a great book haul, and I'm very happy with what I found. And I don't know if you think that edition of Shakespeare is as cool as I do, but I think it's awesome. And I forgot to pick out a book for the book giveaway. So let me grab one. Let's do Zora Neale Hurston. Great book. Their Eyes Were Watching God. This is the one that I believe everybody has. This is the Harper Perennial Modern Classics. Great book. And it's the 75th anniversary edition of it. If you want it, you can email me. I'd be happy to send it to you. The rules are you have to email me. You have to want it. And well, I think that's it. You have to know your address. Oh, you have to live in the lower 48. That's the important thing. You have to live in the continental United States, because I can't ship it internationally, unfortunately. Okay, that's it. Thank you, BookTube.